And now for something completely different.
All right, Metal-O-Maniacs, up next, I got something very special for you because Steve DiGiorgio, I'm saying that correct, right? Steve DiGiorgio?
Yeah, pretty close. It's close enough. We're not in Italy, so we can say it how we want over here.
DiGiorgio. Scully's been telling me I've been saying it wrong all day, so.
I guess if you just try a little less and just say DiGiorgio, like
Okay.
DiGiorgio. Yeah, if you took the DI off, it's pretty common, like Giorgio Armani, Giorgio, whatever the other one was that I just forgot. But yeah, if you think of Giorgio, and then it's just DiGiorgio. So
DiGiorgio. All right.
DiGiorgio, DiGiorgio.
DiGiorgio. I know. I feel like I'm. Let's make some pasta now.
Hey, put your hand in the air. Just make an artichoke with your fingers, and it comes out better. DiGiorgio.
Fucking Steve DiGiorgio. I am super pleased to be joined by Steve DiGiorgio from from Testament and everything. You were in Death, you were in Testament, you got this active denial thing, which I'd love to talk to you about here in a second. But man, I'm not going to read your own resume at you because obviously you know it already. But wow, you're a busy dude, brother.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's a little less kind of conceited way to put it. Is I just like to stay busy, and that's all it is. I know everybody likes to say I'm in every band in the world and all that kind of stuff, but to me, it's just an opportunity to just keep busy, keep making new music, meeting new people, different kinds of musicians, and to me, it's just a chance to just expand stuff, man. I have kind of a hyper way of thinking, and so this is cool to just bounce around and learn stuff as I go. So yeah, it's a good way. I like to keep busy, and that explains it all.
I know that you have found creative ways to stay busy during this COVID year, which has been bananas. You've done a lot of these quarantine videos where you guys, I know you did the grouping. You've put together some really cool groupings for some of these quarantine videos, man. What led to some of that, if you don't mind?
Are you talking about the one with Phil Demmel?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, he called me. Phil's kind of the champ of doing that stuff. He's like he's part of the Metal Allegiance group, which is used to pulling different musicians together and stuff. So yeah, that was Phil's doing. He's doing like a whole series of songs and every song is a different mixture of musicians, and so he kind of had me in mind to do the Sabbath one because everyone knows when I was younger I was just Geezer Jr., just wanting to be another Geezer Butler like all his bass players do, and I ended up hooking up Dirk on drums, and I even got Julie, she played viola on the intro and stuff, and he already had Dino lined up for the vocals, and shoot, we just went straight in and knocked it out, and that was awesome for me because like as Phil is used to doing that and does it often, I don't really do that ever, and so it was pretty fun for me to go through that, and I think it came out amazing. I mean, obviously the highlight of doing a Sabbath song is to listen to Dino sing like he does as Dio, So that was really cool. And then, oh yeah, I guess so. Another one that was really similar to that, like as far as the mix of musician quarantine video thing, was Jason Bittner had hit me up pretty early on in this whole quarantine thing, and they said they had a Death cover pretty well far along the way. They figured why not just ask me, and I jumped in and did it, and then I think we got Bobby Coble to do the solo on that, and then like the very next week we did the same song as Death to All with Gene and Max from the Death to All lineup. So it was kind of a little bit of an overdose of that opening track from Individual Thought Patterns coming out. But it's how things go, and it's not super tough to pull these videos together because everybody does it in their own time and they do it at their own house. No one even cares about the backgrounds anymore. You can set up in your bedroom or your living room and just turn on the damn camera and just record the song. But it's still a little bit of a challenge to pull these things. Everybody's schedule and everybody's, up against different stuff. So that's just the way the timing worked out, that the two bands played the same song at the same time. But the Death to All thing is still going. We came up with a follow-up video, like you were saying, like a kind of a quarantine video to Zero Tolerance, and we're just about ready to finish up our third video, and there's going to be more after that. You know, Gene is just, you know, every time I think I'm this, you know, working machine, I just look over to my big brother, and it's like, man, I'm just a little caboose on the end of that train. He just plows ahead. He's a busy man, and he's got plans for us Death to All guys. So we're going to keep doing that, and, you know, there's all kinds of videos, you know, like you said, I don't know if it's proper segue, but, you know, we did a video for the single for the Active Denial stuff in the same kind of way. Just everybody films themselves at their own place, and then they just edit them together. Seems to be very, very common. I mean, bands have been doing that for a little while, but trying to make it sneakily look like it's kind of cohesive. But now everyone's just, fuck it, we're all stuck in our own places. Just stick the panels together and just enjoy the damn thing. So it makes it a little easier, but yeah. So yeah, that's that.
Throw all pretense to the wind and fucking rock and roll with it. That does bring us to the Active Denial, brother. How did this project start? How did this become something? You know, is it fair to call it a side project for you? Would that be an accurate?
Well, I mean, it's a current project. You know, the point we're at right now, at the time of this interview, is we're pretty much in the middle of recording the batch of the songs that are going to be the whole album. We had completed the first track, you know, in its entirety. Everybody's parts, all the mixing, all the polishing, and the video things all came together so we could release that as a single to kind of spread the news and, you know, let people know what we're up to. But we still got work ahead of us to do. There's a lot of stuff to record and all the production that goes with, you know, making it a complete album. So it is a current project, and everybody that's in this lineup is, you know, entrenched in the middle of it. But if it doesn't really matter. I mean, side project, whatever. Especially, and I wouldn't even say now because it's been going on these 15 years. I mean, you know, when we were younger, it was something for, you know, established bands to have a member go off and play with somebody, made a lot of news and all this stuff. But now it's the whole world of musicians is very incestuous, and it's just, you know, people just hook up and do stuff with other people, whether it's a completely temporary project or something that has hope to carry on. You kind of just go where the wind blows and see what people want from it. And so I guess we're treating this, you know, kind of like that, where we're going to come together, put our all into it, and make it kick ass and put it out there. And if people are really digging it and there's a buzz, and well, then there's motivation to keep going. And if not, hey, we made a killer record, and we'll see you on a festival somewhere.
Fuck yeah, brother. That's good shit. Well, but what's out now? There's two songs, right, that are out there for the world to hear, which is Puzzle Heart, and we're going to play Controlled on the show, as a matter of fact, tonight, along with this interview. And, man, just from the tastes that are out there, I'm super excited for more, brother. Very excited about it. Who are the other guys that make up? It's being referred to in some terms as kind of a super group, although that's a term, in my opinion, we use very loosely these days. But I think it applies here. Who are the guys that make up this Active Denial with you?
I don't know. I mean, once when MTV was big and Whitesnake had Rudy Sarzo and all these guys, I mean, you know, that was like a super group,
right?
You know, because those were bona fide rock stars coming together, making a group of rock stars in a band with an already huge name. To me, that's a super group. But when you get musicians with a little bit of notoriety, you know, like maybe myself or Bjorn from Soilwork and stuff, I mean, you know, super group is, you know, that term is way watered down, and it's just kind of a campy little hook to get people to look at it, you know. But
totally agree. Totally.
The nucleus of the band is two guitar player. They're real good friends. They grew up together, been friends forever. They made music together, and I think they decided to kind of, you know, up the game for themselves, being from a country that, well, it's full of talented musicians. I worked with actually a small handful of musicians from Croatia. So to me, it's not a surprise, the talent level that's there. But in the world of things, it's relatively unknown. The name, the country name doesn't pop out at you as anything. You don't have these well-known musicians that kind of are known from coming from there. So, for the sake of this discussion, they're relatively from an unknown place, and so they decided to up their game, and look for musicians out in the world to help complete their project. And they got an Austrian drummer who's this dude's like a machine, man. He's amazing. And what's the band he's from? I get these damn band names mixed up. I think Septic Flesh or something like that.
Yeah, Septic Flesh. Right.
Yeah. So he's got the speed chops and all this crazy articulation. And then, of course, Bjorn on vocals. I mean, the dude's voice it's damn recognizable. He's been at it quite a while now. I mean,
He's sick, brother.
In fact, we had Soilwork open for us, a European Testament tour. God, I almost want to say, was it 99 or 2000? So 20 years I know Bjorn's been at it, man. That's how weird how time flies. And then so they called me in, and they already had the drummer and Bjorn there on vocals already kind of in the project, already working on their parts when they called me in. And they presented a couple of the demo tracks, working tracks, and to me it sounded great. It very reminiscent of Soilwork for obvious reasons with Bjorn singing, but the Croatian dudes, they really, really love that kind of Scandinavian, that Swedish sound. They grew up with the Gates and Dark Funeral and In Flames, Soilwork, that whole thing. And so this is their kind of homage to that. And that's what it hit me as right when I heard it, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And they needed a couple solos done, so Bobby's a close friend of mine, so I got him to just come in and throw a few solos. And I think even kind of recently Bjorn brought his buddy to do some keyboards on there. I think I hate being misquoted or providing a bad quote, I guess I should say, but I think the guy's from the Night Flight Orchestra. I'm not sure, but anyway, he's a buddy of Bjorn's from up there in Sweden, and so it's kind of like you throw out a couple throw a word out there a little bit, and then those guys come in and they throw the word out and bring a couple more guys in. So it's kind of a big collective, and that's about it. Just started with the guitar players in Croatia. They just reached out, whether it was email or messenger, just looking for some of the guys they look up to and been listening to for years to come in and help finalize their music project. So
well, yeah,
we're in the middle of it.
Where are you in the stage of it? Like, is that something? Or are you looking at an early 2021 type of a release there? Maybe summertime or?
Shoot, I don't even know exactly. You'd have to ask one of those guys.
Too early to tell.
Well, I've seen a lot of the artwork kind of every now and then they'll put up something like, hey, what do you think of this? So I don't think we'll have to wait too long after the recording's done for the production. I think they're taking care of like the artwork and everything kind of so that when the final mix is totally done, I think it'll just come together and just be ready to come out. And with any new project, I think they're pretty actively looking for maybe some label representation or some backing, something to help them, get the word out and give it a push and, help sell the stuff. So that might have a big factor on when the release is. If a company shows interest, they kind of slot things the way they want to do and stuff like that. So, right. I mean, we'll see. But where we're at in the project is, like I said, we're kind of like right about in the middle, somewhere around halfway. Still got a lot of recording to do, but it goes pretty quick, yeah. So not too much longer. I think they're hoping on getting it out before the end of the year. So
wow, awesome! Wow, that's awesome. That's great news, actually. I'm very much looking forward to that.
And now this. And now,
Now that's entertainment.
See, that's how much music shit you've been involved with. We haven't even touched on Sadus yet. Holy shit, man. I love Sadus, bro. I love every part of everything that project was.
Wow.
You were one of the founders of that project, right?
Oh yeah, we started in high school, man. We were just bouncing around, a group of musicians playing keggers and playing backyards or garages, like you do in high school. And we had just all came together. And, everybody loved playing covers back then. And that's definitely how you get started when you're a kid, man. You're playing all the songs of the stuff you like. But me and the drummer were getting kind of bored of it when we were like, man, we're like, we're like 16 years old, like thinking like, man, how do you write your own songs? We want to write our own songs. So we were playing this kegger party one weekend, and these two guitar players came in there, and they're like, man, your band sucks, but the bass and drums are cool, man. You guys are great. And they go, you should jam with us. We're like, oh yeah? And they go, yeah, we both play guitar, we both sing, we both write our own songs. And we went, fuck, that sounds cool. So we hooked up after school, tilted the bed mattress up against the wall, set up the gear in the bedroom, wrote a song, smoked a doob out in the VW van, and we went, shit, you want to do it again tomorrow? We went, all right. Did it again tomorrow, did it the third day, and by the fourth day, we went, man, we jammed 3 days, and we got 3 songs. We should call it a band. We went, okay, and that was the beginning of Sadus. And we were going to play the high school talent show, but we got disqualified the week before for some fight in the hallway or something.
Fuck.
And we came up through fanzines and tape trading and, playing, opening for Exodus and Testament and Blind Illusion, Possessed, playing with bands like Forbidden Evil and Violence and stuff like that. We were part of that, but we were kind of, where our town is located, it's just a little bit farther drive out of the main metropolis of the Bay Area. So we were considered like these backwoods orchard fuckers, and we weren't really welcome into the circle so much. I mean, we got to know the guys and we were playing shows and stuff, but we were kind of a little bit too rough, maybe a little bit too high, just did little things a little too far to the extreme. We weren't there to kiss ass and make friends. We were there to kick ass, and maybe we got a little bit of a bad reputation from doing that. So we got kind of pushed out of the good boys crew, and the only other bands that we kind of buddied up with was Autopsy and a little bit older band called Hex. So we had Hex was like this kind of, like killer, like just steady thrash band. We had Autopsy was just a caveman, brutal death group, and we were like this technical fucking hyperspeed band. And we just went out, the 3 of us, and we'd made our own shows. We'd go out and play in somebody's fucking, tomato field or something with extension cords and fucking cheesy lights set up and everything. And we got our start that way. And so once we signed to Roadrunner and we're playing on tour with Sepultura and, playing bands like Morbid Angel and, doing bigger shows like with Creator and shit like that, it felt like, wow, we're dipping our toes in the real world out here. It's pretty cool. We came out, our first 3 records came out every other year, man. 88, 90, 92, we were on a roll. And then we took a huge break and lost a guitar player, but instead of replacing him, we just kept it as a trio. And the album was pretty good. We toured a lot for it. It felt pretty good, like we had this kind of new vibe. And then we took another, like a 9-year break. And we got back together and did another record, came out really killer, and played a bunch of shows. And once those shows kind of died out, I think we're on about a 12-year break now. So I don't know if it's ever going to happen again. Who knows?
Yeah, say the show's on your bio as an open-ended thing still. It doesn't show as as a closed book. So, hey, man, fingers crossed maybe we'll get a Sadus project at some point.
Yeah, who knows? It takes a lot of effort, though, to build something up off the ground. I mean, it would take a lot for us to get together. And, ever since high school all the way up to just a few years ago, we all lived almost all the time in the same neighborhood. If we moved around, it was just a few-minute drive from each other. But over the past few years, we've spread out. In fact, our drummer went off to Texas. And, so it's, the proximity thing ain't there like it used to be. So we gotta find a way. Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of other life going on right now. Just take it as it comes.
True, brother.
Yeah.
I saw life in a weird-ass fucking year, man. Well, let me change gears on you. How did you discover your love for jazz fusion?
Oh, that goes back to even before I even knew anything hard rock or metal existed. I mean, that's a lot of it has to do with when I was really, really young, in the 70s. I mean, there was fusion everywhere. I mean, even some kind of what would you call it? Like the cheesier side of fusion was on the radio as pop music. I mean, we all heard Chuck Mangione's "Feels So Good," and we know Weather Report. Do 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 do. Fuck, I can't think of the title.
Oh yeah.
God damn it. Anyway, there was a lot of that stuff. Spyro Gyra, like the radio stuff. Miles Davis. But then obviously, you could get out of the pop. Just a huge movement. It's the way jazz was going, and jazz had huge festivals. The size crowd for jazz festival rivaled rock crowds back then. I mean, it was a big part of everybody's life. Instrumental music used to be important, and you know,
Right.
and everything from Herb Alpert and, like I said, Miles Davis and all the Weather Report and all that stuff. I'm drawing another blank, but that kind of evolved into like late 80s, early 90s, not so much a revival, but like a last gasp. Like you got Tribal Tech and Lost Soul Tribe, and there's all these groups that were coming out playing way more high, like Steve Coleman, like real mathematical, abstract jazz stuff. And I was just around that stuff and just into it. And like with the Chick Corea Electric Band and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's when I got called over to Florida to do that Death record in '91. I met the Cynic guys, especially Sean. I mean, it was amazing that that here's this. We're called in to play Death record, and all day long we're in a hot warehouse playing Death riffs. And then when it was time to go chill and burn a doob, I mean, we were listening to some of the most crazy stuff, man. Just like Terry Bozzio and Mick Karn and just some crazy out there stuff. And I really, really bonded with Sean in those days. I mean, he was 19 years old. I think me and Chuck were like, 23. We were young pups, but it was a cool time to realize that, I didn't have to listen to that music in secret, that these guys were into the same shit. Al Di Meola and Stanley Clark and all this crazy stuff. And we would just sit there and just vibe all that stuff. And then next day we'd go in the warehouse and play Death riffs again. And you could kind of see how it all came out when you listen to the Human album. You could see that we were just loaded out of our mind listening to Fusion all night, just.
That's a phenomenal record, brother. Well, let me throw one of the long-standing metal debate questions at you, if I may, being that you have maybe a little insider view on it. Had Death stayed, had Chuck still been around, would Death be a full-on prog metal band by now, do you think? Or
Death wouldn't be at all. He actually ended Death when he was alive. That
Right.
kind of sounds weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Death.
Right.
Chuck killed Death before he died.
Fuck yeah.
Anyway, he was already, when we were in 92 or I guess early 93, we were recording Individual Thought Patterns, and he really enjoyed the process of getting, like, his riffs were pretty much laid out how they would be, but once me and Gene started playing to him, we would kind of influence the arrangement, because certain parts that he thought maybe were just a quick shot of like a 4 repetition, he wanted to expand on it because the bass and drums were starting to decorate the part more than he thought. And so the songs were growing and changing, and he really loved that process. He was really excited to put himself with musicians that brought ideas to him. He didn't need his riffs written for him. He had his vision for how his song was going to be and how his band should sound, but he completely welcomed the influence there's in the music. And so he just loved it, man. He was, I guess, I don't know how everybody does it, but I think some people kind of want to get the writing process over and just get the songs done, where Chuck just really didn't hesitate, man. If something changed his mind, he loved ripping it apart and trying new stuff and moving stuff around. He loved it. It was exciting to him. And then it came time to put the vocals on. His head dropped and his lip came out and he was pouting. And Scott Burns, pretty legendary, producer, he's trying to pump him up and like a coach, like, come on, get in there, man. You can do it. You're the godfather of metal, man. And Chuck's like, oh, I hate putting my vocals to this shit. It's ruining it. We thought it was like a kind of little bit of self-conscious, kind of getting down on himself, but it turned out that it was very true. He was really burning out on that vocal style. He didn't want to do it anymore. He didn't want to hear it anymore. And but you know, he's only what 5 albums into his career, so he can't just pull the damn plug and change everything at that point. So he continued on and he did Symbolic, and that was the last straw for him, man. At the end of that tour, he was burnt completely on it. He pulled the band completely disbanded, got a completely new lineup, new band name. He had a lead singer, a guy that sounded like Warrell. He wanted Warrell Dane basically to be a singer for life. He loved Warrell's voice, and those two guys got along like best friends. And that would have been an amazing band, but Warrell was kind of busy, we all know. So he got a guy that was in that kind of style-ish, you know, like kind of like he like Warrell, and he was ready to just completely start over, man. Death was in the past, but the record company didn't want to take a chance on something new that had kind of a retro, older sound. So they just said, you know, well, we'll sign your new group, but before that happens, we need another Death record. That way, you know, we got our ace in the hole. We got something that's selling and product that's moving, and that way we could kind of invest from your own efforts into your new project. So Sound of Perseverance, Death had to be kind of dragged back up out of the mud, and he just basically used pretty much the same lineup as Control Denied guys. You know, he told them, hey, we're still going to work together, but we got to do another Death thing. And he completed that and did a pretty good cycle of touring, and that was the final at that point. He said, okay, we're under contract now, and he had to replace Scott on bass, and that's when I came back for the like 6th time or whatever. But we did that Control Denied record, and the plans were high in those days, man. We were ready to. He wanted to do like a Death Farewell tour / Control Denied tour. He had these plans where we were going to go out and play 4 or 5 Death songs, and then he was going to go up like he was going to introduce the next song, but he was going to bring on the new singer, and Tim was going to come out, and we were just going to do the rest of the set as Control Denied, break everybody into it, you know, kind of lure them in as the Death concert, and then play the rest Control Denied. That way we could come back, you know, 6 months later, headlining Control Denied too. I mean, we had all these plans, but obviously absolutely none of it happened, you know. But
heartbreaking.
Yeah, but that's the story of that, man. So, you know,
What a
I don't
wild
know
time.
yeah.
What a wild time. Well, you know, and that being so long ago, I have to ask you, in the rear view mirror of this fucking life thing that we're building here, does it feel recent or does it feel very long time ago? Or, I mean,
It feels pretty. Yeah, I feel the time. It feels like a long time ago.
right on.
It feels like a long time ago. We kind of revitalized a lot of that. You know, me and Gene and Bobby got. Well, I mean, there was a lot of us got together in the first tour. It was a huge collection of ex-Death members, and then me and the Cynic guys went for a while. But once we got Gene and Bobby hooked up, it seemed like we had a pretty tight running machine. And we would go out and play, you know, all stuff from the All Death catalog and stuff. And I guess that's what kind of solidified it as being nostalgic, because it was not only was it, you know, a throwback to, you know, years and years ago, almost 20, some of the album years, but it also kind of, you know, solidified the fact that there's never going to be anything new. There wasn't anything recent. The most recent album was like 97 or 98. You know, yeah. So it feels old. And you meet a lot of the fans that came up and thanked us for playing that stuff and said they're too young. They never had a chance to see Death in live. And they knew they weren't looking at the real Death, but they appreciated what we did. We brought kind of a little reminder to the old days in a tribute form. And even some of the older guys, you know, they'd be bringing their kids and stuff, and the kids got full Death shirt on, you know, and stuff. So, yeah, it was cool to just kind of stir up the memories, you know, and that gives it that kind of long time ago feel. So, yeah, it felt like something from the old days. But back to what you said earlier, I mean, if Chuck never got sick and he was here to this day, I mean, he had already started the new millennium. 2000, the Control Denied record came out, and we were really, really close to finishing the second record, very close. that record, it doesn't have the final pieces floating around close, but just short of that step, everything else was close. Like, we had our parts ready, all the ideas were there, the cover was getting worked on, the lyrics were done. We were ready to record our parts to put them there that we didn't do. That's why we could never finish it. It wasn't close enough in that last stage, but all the ideas were completely in place. And I'm sure he would have just continued along that. I don't think he would have ever brought Death back, because he was done singing. He was completely through as a vocalist. He didn't enjoy it, and he was done. So
and he definitely was embracing a more structural, more, a dynamic style. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, and no one will ever get to hear it, but so for Control Denied, he changed his riffs a little bit to make room for the vocals, and he realized he didn't have to do that so much. In the next batch of songs, that would have been the second Control Denied, if before the vocals were put there, it sounds exactly like Death. I mean, he went back to more frantic riffing, more crazy stuff, faster paced stuff. It sounded a lot more recognizable to his last Death stuff, and he just figured that vocal style didn't require the band to just take a break, that we could still trudge ahead full speed, all technicality, and have that kind of singing soaring over the top. And that would have been the style of the second record, and it probably would have grew from there, and it probably would have got pretty damn technical, because he was a fan of mixing it up. I mean, I can remember these wore out VHS tapes he had on his bookcase. We would sit there and watch all kinds of bootleg Watchtower concerts, man. He loved Watchtower. And these guys are crazy. They come out in knee pads, football jerseys. They're rolling on stage doing somersaults. And I mean, it was quite a show, man. I don't know if you ever seen crazy Watchtower concerts, man, but it's something to behold. I mean, they never really got around a lot. They didn't do big tours or last very long, so it's kind of a rare little niche thing, but right. He loved that stuff. And he loved technical metal, but the biggest thing he was into was classic metal. I mean, Judas Priest and, some of the power metal stuff with the real, the total operatic singers. I mean, he fucking loved that shit. And he could sing power metal vocals pretty good, just not good enough. It's like his voice sounded like kind of like a young demo band just learning, and he's already like this really iconic professional vocalist as Death, but his power metal vocals aren't quite up to level, and he knows it. So he did a ton of private recordings. We've all heard him sing his heart out, man. He's singing all the time, but he would just laugh and put it away. And, actually, we used it as a guideline. Like when Tim sang for Control Denied, he heard all Chuck's stuff and just followed it, and and then expanded on it. And Chuck would say, obviously I can't hit these notes in this part. So then he pushed Tim to do like, really killer singing stuff. But he wished he could just be that soaring, like Bruce Dickinson kind of singer. And if he was, I don't think you ever would have heard him growl, man. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. If he'd have had that Dio-esqueness, we'd have never maybe had Death in the first place.
Nope.
For metalheads my age, I guess our age, if you don't mind my saying, that's one of the greatest what if stories of our lifetime, sir. What could have been.
Yeah, who knows? And if you follow metal, like you said, our age, as long as we have, that in the 90s, it took a huge dive, man. And it was right there in the last couple years of the 90s. And by 2000, all the reunions were intact. All the bands that got back together, even on the higher level, Halford had rejoined Priest, Dickinson rejoined Metal, and then like bands that had kind of call it quits kind of came back and have been going since. And it's like since 2000, and now here we are 20 years later, it seems like it's never let up like it did in the 90s. And that's one thing I wish Chuck really would have been around for, because it seemed like his peak time in his short career was in that 90s bracket. And he really had to, the magazines were leaning towards, Alice Chains, grunge. And MTV was still a big thing to us being young, but it was phasing out at that point. There was less and less music videos. Hip hop and rap were kind of taking over. And this is a low point a low point in our memory, but this is the peak of Chuck's time. You know, he didn't know much else than this low point of metal, and he wasn't around very long when the resurgence started to go up. And if he could be here in the 2000s or the 10s or the teens or whatever, you know, he would have thrived on it, man. He would have been creative, and who knows, maybe Control Deny would have been killed off and he would have had a new project. I don't know, but
Right.
he would have been loving it, because he was a huge music fan, you know, that was very inspired by the stuff he liked. And with all the resurgence of metal and all this killer music coming out, he would have been listening to it, had his ear to the ground and picking up new killer acts and shredding players. And yeah, it could be a whole different world with that guy, but all we got is his memory.
Yeah, brother. No shit, man. But it's a valuable one to have, my friend. And, you know, I appreciate you sharing that stuff with me, as a matter of fact, brother. That's good shit.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, you open the floodgates, man. Your stories start coming out, you know.
I see you in another life, brother.
I've got more stuff if you want to see it.
The year 2020, at being as it is, the nightmare it is in many ways, it's kind of afforded you, I guess, time you didn't expect to have, because I mean, you had a pretty busy schedule at one point for this year, didn't you?
Yeah.
Quite a drastic, different outcome, hasn't it?
Yeah, the Testament out. We toured as soon as the year broke. We were on the road touring, and that's out where we all got sick, or at
Right.
least some of us. Anyway, I don't want to say all because it wasn't all, but anyway.
Are you okay?
Yeah,
If you don't mind my asking, I wasn't going to bring it up, but since you did, are you okay?
oh, I'm fine with it, man. It was pretty well broadcast. I mean, you get people like Chuck Billy and Gary Holt catching it. I mean, it's gonna be news, and So, yeah, there was a few of us. It was just me and Chuck out of the band, out of Testament, got it. The other three guys never got anything. We had a few crew people of our own. Both guitar techs got hit. I think the sound engineer, our merchandiser guy. So it felt like a lot of us, when I think of our traveling party, but as
It's
far
your
as
family,
the news,
right?
yeah, but as far as the news goes, people just think of the band members. It was just 2 out of 5 of us. But out of Exodus, I think all I heard of was Gary.
Right.
I didn't think the other guys got it. If they did, they got hit pretty light. I know Death Angel got hit pretty heavy. Obviously,
Yeah,
the
Angel
drummer.
took it the worst. Yeah.
I don't have a power ranking of who got sick the worst. Obviously, Will Carroll being in a coma for 12 days was really scary, close to death. So he got it worse. But we were all texting each other and keeping track of each other's progress. How we're doing, and it felt like the days just went on and on. I had a constant fever for 18 days straight. I never had that in my life. You get sick with the flu, you get a fever, it kind of comes and peaks 2-3 days and then goes away. You even a solid week of recovering from a normal flu feels like you hit pretty hard. But when you're laying in bed for 3 straight weeks, man, it was brutal. It just felt like it just never was going to end, man. Just day after day after day. And
What a fucking bizarre year, brother. Crazy.
It's trippy, man.
Who would have thought it? We interviewed Jason Bittner, actually. We had Bittner on the show just after the Megadeth cruise. And, man, what we talked about of the year forward to and the year that has transpired are 2 universally different things.
Totally. So, yeah, that's where we left off, basically. I mean, Testament had come on from the tour, and we were getting ready to go all over the Pacific. We were going to go to Indonesia, Australia, Japan, Thailand, everything. And those plans had obviously canceled pretty quick because that's kind of where the whole sickness kind of started out there.
Right.
But we were like, okay, well, we'll cancel that. And then, everything was buzzing around the album release. First week of April, the new album came out. It was a huge buzz, the New Testament record, songs came out good, reviews were good. It was just like, for a group of guys in their 50s, we wrote pretty cool thrash record. It came out pretty good. It's not like this like last ditch effort.
Fuck no.
No kind of like heading into retirement sound at all. It sounds like fresh, energetic. I'm trying to say that kind of from an outside point of view, not self-complimentary.
I think it's phenomenal, brother. I think it's absolutely phenomenal.
No, I was pleasantly surprised how really fucking amazing it came out. We were so psyched to get out and just kind of get soaked into that new chapter, like had the new backdrop with the album cover and, the new songs and, just getting all that going. And I was just completely just ripped out of the schedule, man. We were going to be gone all year. We had U.S. tour right there in the spring, and then we were going to be all over Europe in the summer, just like everybody doing festivals. And I just now got a reminder that came up on my Outlook about I'm supposed to be in Japan,
Right.
I forgot to cancel that one out. And then we were going to continue that Bass Strikes Back lineup. We were going to go all over Europe and USA, South America. Man, we had so many plans. We were going to pump the hell out of this new release. And we still possibly could. I mean, everybody's kind of waiting to pick up where we left off. I don't know if it's really going to turn out to be like that. But since there's not a single person alive that can say what's going to happen, all we can do is wait and just see what it is. And, so that's where we're at, just like everyone else, just fucking on perpetual standby.
Right. That's a question actually we get a lot lately is, are things being postponed? Like, are we basically hitting a pause button on things, or what are we losing? You know, what are we going to lose for good? I mean, this record deserves the full tour. Obviously, this, in my opinion, man, I'm a Testament fan, obviously lifelong. I'm a Death fan lifelong. So it's accurate to say I'm a fan of you for a very long time, brother. I got to tell you that, just on a personal level. Much love, sir. You provided me with much, my friend. But I'm a Testament fan for my full life. But I've been on record on the show, in my opinion, Brotherhood of the Snake and Titans of Creation are two of the strongest Testament releases ever. And I mean, that's quite a thing to say in a discography that they have, you know. And
yeah.
What's it been like to be a part of it? Well, let me ask you this: how did it come about that you became a part of Testament, if you don't mind? Because I mean, you've been everywhere. You've been in Death. You've been all over the place. How did it lead where you ended up in Testament?
Well, being in Death when I was in my early mid-20s, I mean, that there's no better way to be seen, you know, in the music world. I mean, Death, even back then, they weren't so iconic as they are now. It was just kind of one of the bands still kind of paying their dues, working to build it up. But even so, I mean, it was a large platform to be on. And I think getting hired and really anything after that point always has to point back to, you know, playing in a band like Death for sure. I got to know James Murphy, who had played in Death for one record. Just two metalheads that are fans of music, you know, and not only metal. You know, James is a super shredder guy, and so his antenna are out far and wide. He's listening to all kinds of music, always looking for something good. And we realized we were both into jazz fusion pretty big time, and so we kept contact. And it was in late 97 or something, early 98, he got a hold of me. He was actually not that far away. It was only a half hour down the freeway in Oakland, California. He had his own studio built up, and he was getting ready to put together a second solo record. And he called me in to do bass on the record. And so I'd go out to his studio every few days and hang and, you know, record parts. And we'd sit there and listen to different fusion vinyl and eat ice cream and just hang out and stuff. I think that had a lot to do with getting the Testament guys, you know, kind of aware of me being around. I think the main guy who kind of suggested me was Derek Ramirez. He had helped kind of start Legacy. He's Eric's cousin, and he's always been a big kind of background part of the band. You know, he was there in the early days, and then he's actually, you know, a lot of people say that me and Greg have been the only bass players in the band, but Derek actually did play bass on Demonic. So he started the band on guitar. Him and Eric both played guitar, but he came in 96 about to do the Demonic record and the tours on bass. And when he left, that opened a spot, and I think it was his recommendation mainly that got Testament interested in maybe calling me up. And then James had been invited back his second time in 1998, and I was just kind of coincidentally, like I said, at his studio, and it was easy just to pop right on down the road. And Eric had called me up and just said, "Hey, you know, you come recommended. Want to come out and, you know, let's just chill for a while. I'll play you some of the new stuff that we're working on and tell me what you think." So I went out, and Eric had a Ford Ranger pickup back then, and we sat in the truck, and he played a cassette, and he goes, "Okay, here's our new stuff. What do you think?" And it was, I could tell it was his stuff, so I wasn't like totally naive. I didn't think he was fucking with me, but it was a little uncertainty because it sounded exactly like Slayer. It sounded, I just looked at him, I'm like, and, you know, and I knew Testament was getting heavier because Low was pretty heavy, but Demonic was damn fucking heavy.
Demonic is one of my favorite albums ever. I love that album.
Yeah, so if it went from like Practice What You Preach or something straight to the new stuff, I would have been really shocked. But I wasn't that shocked because I knew they were getting heavy. And so I'm listening to it, and I'm like, he goes, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Well, fuck, it sounds killer, but why does it remind me of Slayer so much?" He started laughing. He goes, he was like trying to quiz me, like, "Why do you think? Why do you think?" And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, why does it fucking sound like Slayer? And he goes, all right, we got a secret, man. It's Slayer's drummer, man. Dave's going to play drums for us. I was like, holy shit, no wonder. That was it. You know, I was like, I heard it. I was like, no one would have ever thought Dave Lombardo would appear on, you know, New Testament shit. So I was like, he goes, so what do you think? And I'm like, dude, with riffs sounding like this, with the drummer from Slayer, and you want me to be the bass player? I'm like, let me go get my amp right now, man. I don't got to think about it very long. And so we worked on that stuff, just three of us, for weeks and weeks. I mean, because I had hooked up with him in the summer. I remember it was scorching hot, and we didn't start recording until it got cold. So yeah, it was a few months, just the three of us. Chuck would pop in now and then, and you know, show some new lyrics or whatever. But it was kind of, you know, early on in the song process for lyrics.
Well, that was for Brotherhood of the Snake, right? That was during the Brotherhood.
Oh, this is way back for the Gathering.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you asked me how I got in the band, so I'll tell you the whole long-winded version. So anyway, yeah, I guess we need to kind of fast forward a little to basically, so the Gathering came together there in 98, early 99, and I stayed with them. I stayed in the longest out of all, like, the new guys, I guess, you know, all the new lineup. Stayed in for a good 6 years, 6.5 years. And then they got the reunion lineup together and kept that going for a while. So basically, when whatever, you know, don't want to get into the politics or the drama, but Greg had reached his ending again, and Chuck called me up and said, "Hey, you want to come back to the lineup?" You know, and it just happened to be a good time in what I was doing in my life, and I was like, "Sure." And so it's already been it's already been another 6.5 years since I came back. So God, out of Testament's 30-something years of total existence, man, I'm approaching 15 of it, man. I'm almost halfway of their story, which is so weird because, you know, to me, it's like, I'm not going to say it's Greg's band, but it's like when I'm there, you know, I'm playing a lot of Greg's bass lines. I'm looking at all these fans getting their CDs, vinyl signed, Greg all over it. You know, I'm just a replacement guy, man, but it's like, I'm carving out a pretty big chunk of history in that lineup now.
I was gonna say, yeah, I don't agree with you whatsoever, brother. I think, like I say, the last two releases have been phenomenal. We did a special actually in June where we did the best record, the early releases of 2020 so far, and front and center for me was Titans of Creation, brother. I mean, you know, you personally play a huge role in the soundtrack to my life, brother. That's not an understatement, man.
Oh, right on. Well, you know, you're knowledgeable, man. You know your history and you know your lineups and stuff. That's good.
Oh man, I'm a metalhead back in the day. I'm no young buck myself, brother. I'm an older cat these days, unfortunately. You know, like you said a minute ago, where the fuck does the time go, brother? You know what I mean?
That's weird.
Where are we with Testament? What's happening? I mean, do you go back to work? When do we go back to work with this thing? How's that work? How's that work in this goofy ass year?
Dude, we have done absolutely nothing. I mean, everybody is just in their own little life cycle, man. I mean, we check in with each other every now and then, and it's so bizarre how different each of us are in the way we're filling our time. But we do keep touch, and you know, we keep readjusting the plan every time. I mean, when we first started the quarantine, it was supposed to only be about 2 months, and then it was the end of the summer, and then it was, you know, by the end, now I don't even know if we're going to get to fire up next calendar year. I don't know. So just like everybody else, man, we're all in the same exact situation. This is not like, you know, it's not even a country difference. It's not even like, you know, third world countries are the only ones affected. It's not like US has it better. I mean, we're all the same, and nobody can play. I mean, they're starting to have different parts of the world. Like I know in Scandinavia, maybe Holland, they did like they take a 500 or 600 seater size club and they let like 200 people in and tell people kind of like stand spread out. They try to have concerts. They were doing the drive-in movie theater thing. I don't know nothing about that. Yeah, so I mean, people are starting to try stuff, but I mean, nothing is close to anybody firing up tour dates. So we're the same as everybody else, man. And now you're hearing about this resurgence, like the virus is starting to get worse again. So that's only going to lengthen all this shit out. And until really in my opinion, I wouldn't fire up anything for public gathering until there's really no sign of the virus left. I mean, every time they think that the cases are going down and it's kind of safe to go out, they open something and then boom, they got to shut it down again because people they're just spreading it, man. They're like, man, you can't outwit a microbe. That shit will find its way where it wants to go. So I have no answer for you, man. No answer for you. We are all on standby and we're all waiting to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy thing. I was a germaphobe before this whole thing, so I kind of walk around in a bubble thing. I go to the studio and the house. That's it. I don't go anywhere else.
Well, and you haven't been sick either, have you?
No, sir. No, sir. Well, I had major surgery a little over a year ago, and on a personal level, 2 year ago I weighed 450 pounds, brother. So.
Well, I can only see your neck up. I don't know. You don't look like you weigh 200 now.
Yeah, I'm a 192 now, sir. So
holy crap.
Yeah, changing some life things.
Move around a little different, huh?
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, I got brand new knees and everything. So.
Wow.
My poor wife is 98 pounds soaking wet, so I had to do something before I killed her.
Well, I'm sure she appreciates that. Thanks for the visual, by the way.
That's good shit, man. Steve, you're in my book. You're a legend of our genre, man. I know you probably don't want to hear that shit from people, but I appreciate your lifetime of work, man. It's something that's been very valuable to me. As not just a metalhead, as a fucking human being, man. We all go through our shit, and I'm on record on the show all the time as saying the stuff we listen to, it's more than just the soundtrack to your life. It's kind of the shit that gets you through in a lot of ways, man. And you're responsible for a lot of shit that's gotten me through, brother. And I would be kicking myself later if I didn't take this opportunity to thank you for that.
Well, and that means a lot. It means a lot to me, man. I do appreciate you saying that because, I'm the same as you. We're all human. We're all getting through life. And I do have my own get through shit music. And I know how important that is, just anything from doing chores in the house to going to work to forgetting some drama in the day. I mean, it could be anything. It could even be celebratory, man. We could be fucking high on life and you want to put on something that makes you feel it even more. So I got all that for myself too. And if I could talk to those guys, I'd return the compliments just that you have for me. So much appreciated that you say that, man.
Fuck yeah, brother. You are the real genuine deal, brother, man. I appreciate the fuck out of you, man. And beyond that, I appreciate you spending some time with us here at Metal-O-Mania, man. It means a great deal to me, sir.
Well, it's been nice, and I actually appreciate you not making me download Zoom, and we just use good old-fashioned Skype. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, our tech was cussing you, but I don't know the difference myself, so who cares?
Whatever works, we got it done, man. So cool.
Thank you, Steve, brother, for real, for your time. It's very appreciated.
My pleasure. You take care of yourself, man.
You too, man. Stay healthy.
Oh, yeah.
All right, brother. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, man. We'll see you down the line.
Sounds good, sir.
All right, everyone. What's up? You're here with Steve DiGiorgio, bassist of Testament, Death, and many more on Metal-O-Mania with the Crypt. Keep it fucking heavy, yo.
Open the gates of hell, a season of the witch, that's cast crap.